Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Strat Gamer here, providing you with a completely new Anno 1800 series. And I'm very excited. I hope that you will be too. In this series, each episode will be focused on a specific resource, and I want to teach you everything there is to know, from the beginner's level to really the expert, the secrets that many of you really may not know about. And we're going to talk about many different things in each episode. The first one is a short overview of the building, its cost, its maintenance, its size, things like this. The second is all of the production chains involving that building. For example, for pigs, of course, we're going to talk about sausage and soap, but let's also talk about heavy weapons, about canned food, about boots. So many different production chains that you may not know about. Then, the third element is the basic production ratios. If you're planning, for example, to do sausage with pigs, what is the ratio you need to use? Fourth, my perfect layouts. From the start, when you really don't have a lot of money, what is the layout that I use? To the end game, when I have a lot of money, trade unions, silos, tractors, everything that you can think of. What is my perfect layouts? Number five, what are all of the palaces and department policies and um, choices that I make for each of those resources? Number six, all of the museum and cultural sets that you can use for that resource. And lastly, my preferred items and specialists. And for that last one, we'll do at least the specialist that you want to do when you have workforce. So when you have a lot of workforce on your island and you don't care about reducing the workforce, so what items you want in that case, and then what are the items that you want to use when you don't have any workforce, when you want to stay with zero workforce, to use in particular this modifier without any risk. So that's what we're going to cover in each of those episodes. And for this first episode, we're going to talk about the pigs. Because if you've been following my scholar runs, you know that I've been working on pigs for quite a bit. It is very smelly, I know it's not great, but it is producing a lot. This was this part of the island that you may have seen. I'll also put the description below. I've just destroyed sort of the bottom half. Um, but this is the pig island. And why? Because we are using pigs in a lot of things, as we're going to see in the different production chains. So let's start with number one, an overview. Well, pigs. If we go to sausage, you can see the pig farm here. So a few facts. One is it doesn't cost a lot. It's only 4 timbers, 500 credits for the main buildings, and then 25 credits for each of the modules. Because when you look here, you see that you need to do 5 modules, 25 each. So in total, it's 625 credits. So really not that much. Then the size, as you can see, this building here is 3 by 4, 3 by 4, so 12 tiles, and then each of the module is 2 by 3, right? You can see 2 by 3, and you have 5 of these, so in total that's going to be 42 in terms of space. When do you unlock it? Well, you unlock it as soon as you have your first worker. If we go to that sorting element by progress, as soon as you get your first worker, you're going to get these elements here, including the sausage with the pig. So quite quickly. Now, a couple of elements that you may not know. Well, it unlocks with workers, but you actually use farmers. And it's a bit more farmers than usual. It's 30 farmers, while for example for your sheep it was only 10 farmers. For the wheat, that's also in the worker, it's 20, so quite a bit of farmers. Then another element is that it brings negative attractiveness, as you can see here, -3, which is important, right? Because especially if you have So here in the vulgarity, pig farms. If you have population on the island, things like this, or if you're looking for tourists, you don't want this vulgarity. That is bad. So something to really keep in mind, as I said, that's probably the smell, right? Makes sense. And let's take also a quick look at the building. You can see as all of the building in this game, amazing graphics, love it. Level of details, you can see baby pigs, the farmers. Now the silo is here. A bit more expensive, 1000 credit, 20 timbers, 10 bricks. But as we all know, crazy useful because it's plus 100% productivity and also an additional, in this case pig, every 3 cycle. Now one thing I also wanted to show you, the last element, is there is a radius where you can put your module. What you may not know is you don't need to put them completely inside. For example, here it is half inside, half outside, and still fine. And that's actually the limit. You need half of the tiles, so here 3 out of the 6 to be inside. If now we move to 2 tiles, it doesn't work, and 1 tile doesn't work either, of course. But 3 is fine, 4 is fine, obviously 5 and 6 are fine. And then the last element is that there's no electricity impact for this one to keep in mind. Now, as I said, let's look more into the production chains, and that's where you may start learning a lot more. So the first production chain is sausage. So that one is sort of standard. Similarly standard is the soap, where now you have an intermediate step. Is first you go into rendering works to produce tallows and then into soap. And that's also, and this intermediary will be used later on. Is it engineers, if I remember? Yes, engineers. You have the advanced weapons, where you can see again, use the pig farms from rendering worlds for tallows, which is used in Dynamat's factory. But that's not all. You can also use it for others. The first one is the canned food. And you say, well, what am I saying? We don't see pigs there. Yes, you don't, but there are 2 items which make use of pigs for canned food. The first is Chef Michel, and I can show you an actual example because I am using it here. So you see Chef Michel is here. Instead of goulash, the building process is pigs. So if I go here, these are canneries, right, to produce canned food, and you can see they are using pigs. So that is the third one. The fourth one that you probably won't use is here. So now the one we just discussed is here, right? For canneries directly. Now there's another one for the artisanal kitchen, so for goulash, where instead of using beef in the cattle farms, you're going to use pigs. And I can show you that there's actually 2 items. The first one is Marcel. And you can see instead of beef, the building processes pigs. Also produces additional sausage. And the second one, because this one is legendary, so it may be hard for you to find. The other one is Recipe Archivist. Also, instead of being beef, the building processes pigs. So that way, here you will produce your goulash with pig, but then you still need the goulash for the cannery. So Chef Michel is definitely better. And then the last one I am also using here is Bumbrimel, the original dandy. Instead of Sangakau, the building processes pigs, and you can see it here. So you see why pigs may be more important than you thought. It's not just sausages, soap, heavy weapons, but also canned food and boots. So in particular for I mean, canned food is used by many, right? It's used for the artisan and engineers by default, but also the scholars and also the explorers in the Arctic. So very useful. Now, very quickly, let's look at the production rate. As you can see here, it says pigs 1 minute, which means it takes 1 minute to create one pig, or 60 seconds if you prefer. Similarly, we can check the slaughterhouse for sausages. It is also 1 minute. So the ratio is simple, it's 1 to 1, and we're going to see it in the layouts. That helps a lot. On the other hand, for the soap, we can see that the soap is actually 30 seconds. So in 1 minute, we produce 2 soaps. But that means we also need 2 pigs. So you're gonna need 2 pig farm, then 2 rendering works because they're also at 1 minute for 1 soap factory. And again, we'll check a few layouts very shortly about that. Now, if you start playing with trade unions, bonuses that will change, like your production modifiers, obviously those ratios don't work anymore. Then you have to do more control Q, so you can see how many are needed per minute, and you can see what you're producing, right? So for example, the boots are the tailor suits that I'm producing on this island. Okay, let's move quickly to the layouts. I'm sure you're excited to see that. And of course, I will leave in the description below some all of these, some links that can help you with that. So let's start with the sausage, right? And I have one that I quite like for the sausage is you put the sausages and pig just next to each other, and then you put the 5 here like this. Why is that great? Well, if you have your road like this, maybe you're putting your warehouse on the other side of the road, or maybe you're putting it there, it doesn't really matter. What's interesting is if you do just this, well, trees. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, you put your road like this, and similarly again, right? You can have a warehouse here or there, as you prefer. That's the second layout, quite clean. Again, easy to copy. Just do this, and you can copy it next, or you can even copy it there if you didn't have the warehouse. Now, if we move into more advanced layouts, that's when you want to start using the trade union, right? There was a first layout with around the trade union with 32 pigs around it, but that was without the silo. Now, as I said before, you really want to have the silos. The bonus is huge, plus 100%, one every 3 cycle. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm saying silos, don't hesitate to tell me. I can do a specific video on the topic. But so based on that, you have less space, right? Because you're gonna need silos. The silos needs to be linked to roads. So this is now the layout that I'm using. Again, I'm posting the link below. Another element that's important is to make sure that there's a road that actually goes to the trade union. Why? Because this is how you get the bonus from the department of whatever department you choose, whatever local department. In particular, I mean, for here, it's our next item. It's a no-brainer. You want to use the Department of Labor, so you get plus 60%, and you will. I mean, there's two choices. Either you're going to choose the Land Reform Act, or you're going to use the force item. The only reason I would say you want to use the force item is if on that island you have many different things. You know, you don't only have pigs and other farms, but you may have, I don't know, the actual sausage factories, the boots makers, and things like this. And these wouldn't be it wouldn't help if you use the land reforms on them, right? But otherwise, if it is an island with a lot of farms, you want the land reform. The land reform is one additional item, so you add additional pig every 2 cycles. So the first cycle you get your normal pig, the second cycle you get 2 already. So this is huge. Now about this layout, as you can see, really covers all of the farms, and it's 26 farms, all of them with a silo. So that's quite a lot of production. Of course, don't forget to put a lot of warehouses on the exterior, and you'll probably need to evolve them quite a bit. Otherwise, they won't cope with that production. Because we're going to look about the items that you're going to put in it, but with a few items, you'll quickly have a production, very, very quick production. We covered just now the local department, so I won't go into more details into that. Next are the museums. There's not that many museums, to be honest, for the pigs. There's only, I would say, 2 sets that, in my opinion, are interesting. The first one is a museum one, Origin of Mankind. Only 3 exhibits needed, and it gives you a 5% productivity bonus and a 5% workforce needed, -5. I mean, this is not huge, but it's still something, especially if you have a huge island like this. Obviously, if you only have one farm, it doesn't, I mean, the size of the farm versus the size of this, it's not worth it, right? But when you have a full island covered with pigs, then it quickly becomes very relevant. And this one is very similar, but even more so, you need a big one, because now you need 6 slots, 6 items, exhibits for the domestic animal, and once again you get 5% productivity bonus. No other sets, in my opinion, are useful for the pigs, but if you disagree, don't hesitate to share. And now, maybe one thing that you've all been waiting for, the items. Let's start first with, so we're going to start with the realization that we won't use a force item. We will use only 3 items like I'm doing here. If you need a force, I will tell you after what will it be. Now, as I said also before, there's 2 choices. Either you have a lot of workforce and you want to really maximize your productivity, or you want to avoid using workforce, like I do in most of my islands. Let's start firstly with this one, no workforce. So in that case, in my opinion, you want to be using those 3 items. First one is a livestock farmer, because the workforce needed -60%, but still some productivity boost, 30%. Second is this one, the workforce need -40, so with those two, you're already at minus 100% and still some productivity too. If you don't know about this one, the printing press, it may be because you don't have the DLC, the Anarchist. It comes with that one. And then, last one is the Fabulous Feed Yard, which this one is plus 70% productivity. So that one is huge. So in total, with those three, you are at 125% on top of the 100% normal. But if you have those three, you don't have workforce, right? So you will for sure use the plus 50 working condition because there's no minus to, like there's a negative element from doing it, which means you'll get to 175% if you don't have anything else. Like of course on design, on this one, I have a lot of other things, like this Department of Labor. I also have, as you saw, the farm animal, the domestic animals, the origin of mankind. I also have the silo. So all in all, I think on this one I'm at 425 or something like this. You can see it 13 instead of 1 minute. Now it's down to 13 seconds only. Now, if you don't care about workforce, you have a lot of workforce, you're not going to use those same items. What you're going to use is the feed yards. Let's go to the items and let's put feed yard. And as you can see, there's 3 of them. And you're going to take them all. You're going to take this first one, this second, and this third. And each of them is giving you 70%. So that's 210% in total. So indeed, it is more than in the previous example, but you do need population, right? Our workforce. Let's remember there is 30 farmer for each. If you have 26, it's already quite a bit. Now, I said before that this was if you had 3 items. If you have 4, in the case of your no workforce, you're going to add this one. And in the case of you don't care about workforce, you can add ferrous probably to get 50% more. So it is, ladies and gents, for this first episode we talk about pigs. I hope that you learned something. If you did, don't hesitate to put it in the comments below, and also don't hesitate to tell me which is the next resource you want me to do. I'm planning to do many of them, but it'd be great to know also which one you're interested in, and maybe potentially also questions that you have about a specific one. Thank you for watching, and don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel so you never miss when I post the next video on this topic.